on a second. Welcome back to the stream again. So yeah, we're just going to be continuing on with what I was doing this morning, which was adding some effects to the new abilities that are added to alchemy. So I'll just skip the ads. We'll get straight into it. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome. Ninja Link, good to see you. Time for Game Dev once again. Hello, Jackie Daytona. Hello, Emerson. 85 stream streak. Dang. All right, so I was working on getting these new abilities to have some kind of effect. And now what I've got is I've got like this little in animation. I'm going to bring the visual effects back, but the idea is that this shows you what has changed. So I'm going to make this more apparent, of course, with a visual effect, like I said, beyond this, like a visual indicator. But I think this is pretty cool. So you kind of get an idea of like what's changing by just scrolling through it. And then once that plays the first time, I'll start like a long-lived effect that kind of shows, yeah, just shows what abilities were added. So I think that's the part that I want to work on next, is just figuring out what that effect could look like. I did fix the clipping issues that I was having this morning. I'm not really doing the I'm not really doing the remote transform 2D approach. I have instead put this effect root here. And then what happens is when I detect a new ability, I call show effect for ability here, pass in the ability label that is the new ability, and then I just kind of associate an ability effect scene with that label, and then I make sure to clean that up. But this is being added to a labels to effects list, and then in the process method, I'm just iterating over that list and updating the positions of everything in accordance with where it should be. So it's essentially remote transform 2D, but without me having to like hook two nodes up together. So we can put that visual effect back and we can see how that looks. I'm going to try to do a little bit of work on this. We will see how that goes, but I don't know what I'm doing. So let's do this. Oops. Okay, well, we'll just do that. So yeah, you can see that those visual effects are there now. I was just hiding that so I could see the animation. So the idea is we triggered like some kind of impact animation that like, almost like the legendary drop animation, some kind of like burst. And then I also maybe want to do some kind of noise wave along the border there. Did we hiccup? Did we lose some connection for a second there? Hello, Courier Games, welcome. Why do you keep alerting me on Discord? Disrespectful if you ask me. I had to turn the stream off to solve the problem. Yeah, I mean, what I did is my normal stream times are from 10 to noon. So what I usually do after the stream is I go and immediately make lunch, and then I have lunch, and then I'll come back and noodle on things for a little bit longer. Oh man, I don't know why I'm so tired all of a sudden. But I also don't think it's that entertaining on stream to be stuck on something, so usually that's a good point to stop and like go figure it out, burn a bunch of time on my own. And then when I have a path forward, it's good to come back to it on the stream. In any case, let's think about what this ability effect new could look like. Oh, the other thing that's interesting is I am gating the visibility based on whether it's in the scroll area. And that was actually pretty simple. I could just take the global position of the effect and just check if it's inside of the scroll container rect. So that was pretty straightforward. So that means that when I do the alchemy, you know, you could see the new abilities won't actually trigger their animations until I scroll to them. And so that's all part of the area detection there. So I think this will be okay. I think this will be good. But now I just need to figure out like what this effect looks like. I was thinking about using like a line 2D here. I don't know if this is gonna work, but let's just see, I suppose. So bring this up, change the default color to that. We can change the width curve here. So I'm thinking I animate this point upward. Animate that point upward at the same time that I'm actually animating the width. So essentially I play this up and shrink the width at the same time. Kind of get like a beam going up very rapidly. I might be able to do this better with an animation player. Maybe I will do that actually. Yeah. That's how unhelpful we are. Why is Lisp great? Why don't you know Lisp? I don't know Lisp. I don't know why it's great. Am I wearing a wedding ring? Yes. Yes, I'm married. That is true. Okay, let's try an animation player for this. I've actually never animated the points of a line 2D. So let's just see if that works. Okay. Two streams in one day. Hello, Potrill. Welcome. Yes, 2 streams in one day. Oh, I can't animate this. That's a bummer. Really, I can't. I mean, I guess I can animate this value. I don't know if that's gonna work though. Does it know how to interpolate like that? I don't know. Let's figure it out. So we start at 0 width. We'll go up to 10. And we'll animate a keyframe in here. Oh, you can do that. Okay. So it does know how to interpolate there. All right. So we'll do this. Then we'll bring the width back out to something like 2. And then here, I don't want to go too high. Let's change this. So something like that might work. Probably going to need to be a little bit quicker. Actually, yeah, maybe that could work. And then I think here, we'll just change the width down to 0. Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing might just need to be much quicker. And I may actually end up bringing this back down to like -4. I don't know. Let's see how that works. Obviously, this would have to be accompanied by other effects as well, but... And also, can I turn this to rounded? End begin cap mode round. Oh, that works. Well, let's see what happens. So I need a way of triggering this. That's the thing. I guess I'm going to have to add a script to this. Probably for the best. I want this line 2D to be invisible by default. So let me turn off the visibility here. Trigger the visibility, create. Okay. So that way it's just not going to show up until it's ready to go. The particles, we're going to turn emitting off here. Do we want to put the particle emission in here? I guess we can. Put that there. Okay, so we're going to need a way of triggering this then. Game.ui.card. Node private animation player. All right. Let's change this to var is visible. If is visible, am I changing the effect visibility here? No. So if is visible and not label an animation handled, we're going to do effect play. I need to type this as the correct type here. Oh, yeah. Labels to effects. This is a ability effect new. Okay. How's the game going? Are you participating in the next fest? Not watching the streams in a while. No, I'm not doing this next fest. So no, we're not in the next fest, but everything is going well, I would say. The last playtest was really successful, I would say. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. It was really successful, and I got a lot of good feedback, and I can fix everything, hopefully. Well, that's not what I wanted. I want to trigger the play. This is getting a little bit messy. But I just want to get it working. Trailer looks fire, just saw it right now. Thank you. I did get a publisher, yes. I did. Feardemic. They are great. All right. What the heck? What? Oh. Yeah, this is not quite right. Whatever. Finish callback is not the right name for that, but that's okay. I missed the playtest, but there's always next time. Any idea how many playtests before ship? Well, I don't know exactly how many playtests, but there's definitely going to be a demo before the game releases. And that will just be like the continual version of the game you can play if you want to. Okay, that animation is not working at all. I mean, it is working, it's just, I don't think it's not tall enough. Let's just do like 8. And then let's do 16. Can't see anything. Okay, let's see what that one does. Oh, that's a problem. Oh, that's a problem. This is not really working. Okay, these particles are just gonna go. And this probably needs to be even faster. Maybe that. And then I should probably just, for safety purposes, effect.visible is equal to is visible. I don't know if someone already asked this. Why do you use Godot instead of Unity? I'm starting to learn. I just like Godot, honestly. I don't really have a whole lot of experience with Unity, but also never really found a reason to seriously investigate Unity, so it's not either or. But yeah, I like Godot. I think Godot it's really lightweight, it's powerful enough, it's flexible enough. For my kind of use case, 2D games, it's perfect basically. Some rough edges here and there, but otherwise it's okay. Why is this not working at all? It just doesn't look that good. It just doesn't look that good at all. Part of the problem is that it's all rendering behind, so I can't really stretch outward. Maybe that's the answer. What happens if I do What happens if I do that and I go to the right instead? Interesting. And then I make this go much further out. Then this one. Probably still not going to look good, but let's see. So I'm figuring out that I can't really do vertical animations. So because of the way that the things are organized and the layers and stuff, the vertical animations don't really work. So I'm doing like more horizontal stuff. Oh, okay. 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 Maybe that works. Add some extra effects in there at some point, but negative 64 there. I don't know how much room I have to work with. Maybe I should look into that. Inspiration overload. Hello again. Hello, Ashwin. Welcome. Knew we'd get a part 2. Hello, Mel's. Welcome back. Hello, Malicious Rabbit. Welcome. An afternoon stream in this economy. Yeah. Can it be wider at the base so it covers the bullets? That way the effect comes up nicely above the bullet. Maybe. That looks way better. Yeah, I think this one looks better, the side. Because I'm not, like, there's going to be multiple parts to this effect. I'm just trying to get, like, the initial impact effect looking good. Why does that still not seem right to me? That doesn't seem like it's much longer than what I had configured. Let's see, width 6.2. What happens if I do 1? Okay, we'll do that. This width, let's just turn that down a little bit. Did these points not save? No, it's definitely good. Okay. Well, let's just do this then. I might just make this negative 96. Pull that way out so it goes boom, and then we just get rid of this one. Let's see what that does. Horizontal effect is better. Yeah, I think it looks good. Hello, Necklor. Welcome. Looks like it's being truncated for the line. Maybe another element is overlapping. I don't think so, but it's possible. It's definitely possible. I also wonder what this would look like if it was a different color. Let's see. Maybe this width curve is not good. Maybe the width curve is not good. I don't know if I like the green either, but we'll see. Wonder if I just go... I'm going to spend all day tweaking this, I guess. Let's go back to the width curve, back to the way it was. Let's turn the width back up. Width back up. We don't want to go down to a width of... Let's try that, and then we'll go back to the white. Maybe it's constrained by the text field. It looks different depending on how the text is shown. Well, it is behind the text, so that might be it. Like, it's not coming out in front of the text. Okay. Actually, that looks decent. That actually does not look half shabby. Now, I wonder what happens if I change the color over time. Oh, we want this to be discrete. Yes. Okay. Oh, is that still... No, it's not blending. Okay. Just got to make sure that it's not blending the colors at all. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to move that back a little bit, and then I'll move this one back a little bit as well. Just give it a little bit earlier of a transition into that color. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happens fast enough where it almost doesn't look as if the thing is one entire color. It almost looks like the color is a gradient along the line, but it's literally just changing the whole line color. And it's not doing any blending either. Also, I want to change I want to make this bigger. Vector 2.right times 16. Give it more aggressiveness. Nice animation. I see you cooked when I was gone. Thank you. Maybe it's playing well with the interpolation fade on the text while scrolling overlapping. How do you make the camera pixel perfect? I don't know. I haven't really done that. I just like set my camera. I just set my camera up normally usually, and then I don't worry about it. I'm going to make that a little bit quicker as well. Looks better now. Awesome. Maybe I had a tiny delay between each line. Yeah, that's on the to-do list. That's on the to-do list. Speaking of to-do list, I don't think I haven't even written this down, but that's all right. So yeah, if I detect that multiple were made visible at the same time, then I make sure to stagger them a little bit. So that already feels like it's going to be a lot easier to tell what's new. But I still want to add some kind of effect. Additional effect to indicate that something is new. What I want to do is, I mean, if I could do some kind of like noise shader effect, I think that would work. So like this animation plays. That animation looks good. The point though is that this would only play once, and then on subsequent hovers, it would not play again. That's like the ultimate state, because it's kind of annoying if you're like going back and forth trying to hover over this stuff to see what's new, to have to wait for that animation. So the idea is that this would just play the first time, so you kind of get an inclination or understanding of what happened here. But there would be like a persistent effect that plays such that when you hover over it again, you can still know which one's changed. It just won't go through this whole animation again. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm just trying to think of like what the effect can be. Let's do impact callback. I don't really like how disconnected these things are either. I can always clean this up later though. When will you make an update to the demo? Well, we just got done with a playtest. So, and the next update is not coming for a little while. I got a bunch of changes I want to make to the game balance and to alchemy and stuff, so maybe the bullet wiggles for the new ones? Yeah, that could work. I was thinking I wanted to do some kind of like noise texture though. One of my friends has widescreen. Is there any widescreen support planned? No. No widescreen support. It will be locked to 16:9. At least at release. If I want to add widescreen, I can do that later, but this game would be somewhat of a nightmare to do widescreen support for. I mean, I think with I'm going to change the position of the alchemy. Like, the problem with widescreen is that the combat boards are going to be so far apart from each other. Like, this is pinned to the left side of the screen, So if the screen is super wide, you're gonna have like these boards, these things like floating way out, and then all over, you know, on the left side is gonna be your inventory. So yeah, I'm not really planning on doing that. Probably not for release. It'll just be 16:9 aspect ratio, and then that's it. So now I'm thinking, let me commit what I have first. So what I'm thinking is I go to the ability label. I do something like add a sprite 2D. Maybe a color rect would be better. No, I can't use a color rect. Yeah, something like a sprite 2D here. I would probably tile it. Let me just do a new placeholder texture. This will be 16 by 64. So we place that here, put that in the background. And then if I take this card legendary effect, does this just work if I drop this in here? No. Oh wait, it's kind of working. Oh, interesting. I need to look at how that is used, because I think this is pretty close to what I would want. I should probably create a new material for this before I accidentally overwrite that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. New shader material. Put the legendary shader in there. New noise texture. New noise. Does this need some kind of mask? I actually don't know. Back to height pixels. Oh. I wonder if the placeholder texture is kind of messing me up here. Let me just create a dummy texture in here. I'm not entirely sure that the placeholder texture is actually working, so let's see, assets, effect. Let's do placeholder 16 by 64.png. Okay, yeah, the placeholder texture just doesn't work. Okay. So this is kind of what I'm thinking of doing, but I rotate it. I flip it around. Now I could rotate the shader code, or I could invert this. I guess it doesn't matter which direction I go. Okay, and then this. I'm also going to cheat. Oh, flipping the scale doesn't do anything. Interesting. Okay. So I would want a more sophisticated shader than this for sure, but I just want to see if I can make this look interesting. Effect color. So I'd have to dynamically change the size of these things. Probably use a region instead and then define the region height. But let me just see what that looks like before I go any further. Is that getting close to what I want? It's very thick. Let's do this. Let's duplicate this ability new .gd shader. And then for this, can I just swap this out? Oh, perfect. So ability new there. It should have swapped out that one as well. Yes. So now I can edit this one freely. Change that value. I guess I could make that a uniform as well. But I like the idea of making this a different shader file anyway, because I'm probably going to make more tweaks to it. I think it's worth upgrading my project from 4.6 to 4.7 RC3. I mean, that entirely depends on what you need. For me, I upgraded because I need the offset transform stuff. Okay, can I change the speed of this now? I also need to make this texture seamless. Let's just take a look at how that works. Electric Boogaloo. Hello, Yato. Welcome back. I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, even if I do clean it up. Can't make it white. That would be too much. Let's do this. Let's take these. Again, we'll go, oh, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. It's okay. Just playing around with this. I mean, obviously, I need to do a lot of work to make sure this looks okay. The problem is I don't want to impact the readability too much either. Yeah, that just makes it unreadable. That just makes it unreadable. I would have to use a darker color, but then that's not really signaling that that's a new ability. I mean, I guess that kind of works. It still may not be super readable though. I was thinking I would use different colors depending on whether like a corrupted ability was added or something. Okay, let's take a different approach then. I don't think that's gonna work. What I may do instead is I may do what one of you suggested, which is like play a bounce animation, maybe periodically, as well as I'm gonna commandeer the sheen effect, but I need to do a different shader for that as well. So let me see if I can do that. So this is what? This is 9 by 9. So I essentially need a radial gradient in a 9 by 9 area. Let's create a new file. Let's see. Eleven by 11. I'm just going to go ahead and create a 9 by 9 box in here just so I can kind of see how it's working. And then we're going to do white and then black here. We're going to do a radial gradient. Oof, that's not right. Right, so I need... I should probably just do transparent as the second one. Yeah. Sprite size, let's just do 32. No. 31 by 31, is that right? Oh. Canvas size. Do I have an equal amount of stuff? No. What am I doing? This is 11 by 11. What the heck? I'll get it eventually. That should be correct, right? 7, 7, yeah. So we're gonna take this radial gradient tool. Something like that. maybe something? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea if this is going to work. The problem is this is not perfect white. But maybe that's okay. So anyway, this is our 9x9 little mask. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mask, I will play the sheen effect over the icon. This is 9x9. So essentially that mask is going to be, let me save this. I'm going to call this one assets effect ability icon mask.asprite. And then we are going to export this. How did I forget how to export? Oh gosh. I literally forgot how to export. Control Alt Shift S, of course. Ability icon mask. So I export that. So what's essentially going to happen is I'll take this ability icon mask. This will sit over this perfectly. And then what I'll do is when I do the sheen, essentially what I'll do is I'll say, okay, we'll read the mask value at the same UV coordinate as the texture. And we're going to sample the texture. And if the texture color is transparent, we're just going to ignore that color essentially. If the texture color is this black, then we're also going to ignore that. We're just going to preserve the black. But for every other pixel, we're going to color it white in accordance with the progress value and the value sampled from the mask. And so what should hopefully happen is I can create a very nice sheen effect where basically only the pixels that actually compose the image have that sheen effect going through it. I don't know if that's going to be enough, but I think that might work. I think it might work. So now I gotta set all that up. Hello, Initial. Do you do all the art for your game? And if so, how long have you been doing art for? Yes, I do all the art. Yep, so everything you see on screen is done by me, except for, you know, things like the font. Obviously, the font was not made by me, but every other thing you see on the screen was made by me. And I've been doing art for several years now. I first started really trying to do pixel art for my game Gunforged, and that was a couple-year process. And then Alchemortis has been in development for like a year and 3 months, so I've been doing all the art since then. So maybe, I mean, you could say like maybe 2.5 or 3 years of pixel art. So it's a lot of effort for sure. Is there a way to access a scene's root properties without instantiating it? No, I don't think so. I mean, technically there must be because all the data is contained within the pack scene. I just think that, yeah, it's just, if you're finding that you need to reach into the packed scenes like internals to find a piece of data, probably not taking the right approach. There's a couple of options. One, if the root scene data doesn't really change, then you could just instantiate it once at startup, read all the data, and then free it, and then just keep that data stored somewhere for future reference. If the data changes on a scene-by-scene basis, then perhaps the better thing to do would be to store that data in a custom resource. And then that resource can be read from instead of the scene. If it is truly the case that you have data inside of a scene that's maybe exposed via an export variable or something, then yeah, it's kind of like a tricky situation. Usually, I mean, this advice doesn't really help you in the moment, but usually it's like, don't do that, right? Don't have a situation where you need to read data from a scene without instantiating it. But if you need to do it, I mean, if you're only doing it every so often, then instantiating the scene quickly, reading the data, and then freeing it. If you're doing that every once in a while in your game, that's probably okay. Of course, it depends on the scene size too, right? If you're instantiating, you know, 1,000 nodes at once, and you need to do that like every other frame or something, then maybe that's not ideal. But let's say you're just doing a level initialization process and the data is contained in the scenes. Maybe in that case, if it's just during the normal process, like a loading process, maybe in that case, it's okay to instantiate some things in the background, read the data, store it, and then free those. So yeah, I'm trying to make room gen. I see. Yeah, I think you want to probably take a data first approach then. Like the data should describe the rooms rather than the rooms defining the data, if that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to borrow this shader here. This is board effect orb. I probably should create a new shader for this. Custom resources, yeah, I would say. I mean, that's hard to say without knowing what kind of data you need, but yeah. I would take a data first approach to that. Define whatever room configuration data you need in a custom resource, and then you can also define the room scene inside of the resource, right? So the custom resource, you can export a packed scene that contains a reference to the room that's associated with. But then in your room gen, you're just working with the custom resources, right? You're like reading the resources and saying, okay, which resources match whatever constraints I have right now to place a room. And you can do all of that in a data-oriented way. And then when you've figured out your room layout, then you just iterate over all the resources that you chose, grab their packed scenes and instantiate them at the proper places, right? So I would take a data first approach to that problem rather than a scene first approach to that problem. Yeah, I think that's probably the approach that you want to take. Custom resources are very easy. They're basically just like lightweight scripts where you can do all the normal things you can do. You can export variables, you can add functions into them and whatnot, but they're just like lightweight, like data containers essentially. All right, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will implement this sheen effect. So, BRB. Okay, who's ready to do some more stuff? So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna take this board effect orb, we're gonna duplicate this, we're gonna do ability icon sheen.gd shader. This is gonna be a little bit different, which, you know, I should probably spend some effort going through and merging a lot of these shaders where I can, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if that's worth the effort, you know? Shaders are interesting because they're just kind of like one and done kind of things. Like, they don't have any broader like architectural impacts on the game. So if you like have a bunch of duplicated shaders, I don't really feel like it's that big of an issue as compared to, for example, having duplicated game logic or duplicated code in a bunch of places. Because this isn't logical, right? This is basically describing how you want your thing to look. And that doesn't have any impact on the game at all whatsoever other than the presentation of it. So I think it's okay to mix, to just have a lot of shaders that are similar to each other but different enough where it's annoying to try to merge them. Okay, so in here, so we need to make a couple of changes to this. And this is the part where I'm actually not sure, because I want to include this shader include here, because this is how I'm going to detect if the color is black. Actually, that's going to be a little bit of a fun detour. So here's my shader include file. A shader include, if you don't know, is basically if you name a shader file as gdshader inc, and then you do this include directive here with the path to that include file, it basically just inserts that, all the code in the include file into your shader. So that means that I have all of this stuff available to me in that shader now. I think what I want to do here, I'm going to try to do this myself. Usually I have Claude help me with shaders, but I want to at least try to get a little bit better at doing this. So I'm going to borrow, so is black vec for color. So I'm going to pass in an is black. I'll at 8. I think there's like a get palette, yeah, palette index. Int palette index is equal to get palette index. We pass in the color here. And then we're going to return step. I don't actually know if this is going to work. I'm going to do something a little bit hacky here. I think that works. So basically what I'm trying to do this branch list too, without like if statements. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm passing in the source color. I'm going to get the palette index for that color. And what this get palette index does, it essentially returns a number 0 through 7 based on the red channel of the color. And then I have this const vec4 of palette. So these are all my colors, right? So what I can do is I can go from any source texture color to an index in this array to basically match the colors up. And then I can use this index for various things like fading and whatnot. So there's like a bunch of fade steps defined here. But what I'm doing here essentially is I'm saying, okay, we're gonna get the color palette of the index. And then what this should do is this should return 0 if it's black, which means that the palette index is gonna be 0. And then what I'm doing here is I'm doing a step. And basically the way that step works is that it returns 1 if B is greater than A, which actually, I guess this would be wrong. Palette index. If B is greater than A, it returns 1. So if this value is greater than this value, it returns 1. Otherwise, it returns 0. But I want this to return 1 if it is black. Can I just reverse this? I have such a hard time. I have such a hard time with this for some reason. So if this is 0, I basically want to return 1. I mean, I don't want to do this with branch. Obviously, an if would be easy, right? If palette index equals 0, whatever, return 1, right? But I don't want to do that. I want to try to do this without branching. Is there like an AAB but not axis aligned resource? Another question. AAB, I mean, you can define a shape. You can define a shape 2D. Another question, packed scenes are lightweight, so only instantiation is heavy? I mean, the instantiation is not necessarily heavy either, depending on how much there is in the packed scene. Subtract 1, I could do subtract 1. Is that gonna work? No, that's not gonna, is that gonna work? Yeah, no. Yeah, that will work. Okay. So yeah, that will work. I don't know why I thought I couldn't do this. I think, can I do one, let's just do this. 1.0 float palette index. I don't know, can I do that? Anyway, so this will return 0. The reason I'm multiplying it by 100 is because essentially if this is non-zero, it's going to be a positive number. So I just set it to a really high positive number such that this second parameter here will always be greater than this first one. Maybe there's a better way to do that. I'm going to look at the documentation and see if there's a better way to do this. Godot shader built-in functions. Like there has to be a better way to... Google, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Every time I go to Google search in a private window, it gives me a CAPTCHA, which is also impossible to complete. So it's basically a block. You're not allowed to do this. Is there a more clever thing I can do here? Oh, I could use sign. Returns 1 if positive, 0 if negative, 0 otherwise. or -1 if -0 otherwise. I could literally just use sign instead, right? If I just say sign palette index, I can further simplify this. So that's going to return either 0 or 1 because I can't have a negative palette index. So if the palette index is 0, that should return 0. Right? That seems a little bit more elegant. Anyway, so back to this. Expected return with an expression of type float. Float sign. Okay. Anyway, so ability icon sheen. Oh man. The Google AI just doxed me. How fun, really? I didn't see anything. All right. So now in here, basically, if it's black, we want to keep it black. So we've got the mask value is pixel black. It's equal to is black texture color. Let me actually put this on to the ability label here so I can see. Okay, the mask texture. Okay, so that is basically working already. It's already excluding the, whatchamacallit? It's already excluding the transparent pixels. So I just need to exclude the black pixels now. I think I can just multiply this linear interpolate out by 1.0 minus is pixel black, right? Oh, I did the opposite. Wait a minute, why is this? Is this wrong? That should be 0. Oh, right. No. That's right. It zeroes out the linear interpolation if the pixel is black, if the pixel is not black. Wait a minute. Is this not returning what I think it is? Because the reason I was confused is like if the pixel is black, it should return 1. Did I not do that correctly? Oh, this still needs to be 1.0 minus that. Because it's returning 0 if it is black, right? So I was right. I have to invert it again here. Okay, there we go. So look at that. So now we've got a nice little sheen that goes across, ignoring the transparent and black pixels. Trying to do, yeah, thinking about shaders in terms of branchless, like not having if-else statements is It's a little bit of a weird way of thinking about it because usually it just ends up being something like this, where you do a lot of steps and you do a lot of mixing with linear interpolate, and then like your linear interpolate will be some kind of multiplied out with all of your conditions. So this is, I mean, this is basically a conditional, right? Like this is only ever going to be 1 if all of these evaluate to 1, right? So, I mean, we could see that, well, we got the lower mult, right? Lower mult has to be 1. Upper mult has to be 1. The mask color dot A. In my case, I'm making the assumption that there are no semi-transparent pixels. So the alpha is either going to be 0 or 1. So we have to say, okay, and it's not transparent and it's not black, right? All right, so that makes sense. Now I do want to change this upper mult progress diff. We're going to change that to 0.1. So that should create a thinner sheen now as well. Look at that. Beautiful. And that will work with every ability icon too. So if I were to take, for example, this one and put that here, it should be the same effect. Oops, I'm changing. What am I doing? I'm changing the wrong thing. That's the same exact effect, see? Excellent. Now, can I undo that without... There we go. Okay. Well, that was quite an adventure. All right, so now we actually have to implement that. So what I'm going to do though is I'm actually going to save. I don't really want to assign this material. I don't really want to assign this material unless I'm going to play an effect. So what I'll do is I'll save this. Resources, material, ability icon, sheen. Now the question is, do I make that an export variable here? I wonder if that would work, because I do have to make this local to scene as well so that it's not sharing the progress value across all the different icons. So we can get rid of this. Let's see what happens. If I do export private shader material, sheen material, will this work? So I'll build this. When it doxed me, I was screen sharing in a VC with 15 people. Oh no, well, the good news is that 15 people are not likely to dox you. You should not worry about branches in a 2D pixel art game. Well, that's what I thought, but I was getting some Vulkan crashes that, according to my research, could be due to a lot of heavy branching in shaders. So I was getting this very infrequent like Vulkan shader crash, or this Vulkan device lost crash or something like that. And to the best of my research capabilities, it was because of that. I don't have any really way of knowing for sure, but I also took it as an interesting challenge to try to remove the branching. Also, my effort to remove branching throughout my shaders actually ended up improving the performance of a lot of my shaders by a lot. Not that the game was not performant, but my shaders are generally a lot more elegant now. But yeah, there was a reason for the madness. Like, if you've followed this stream for a while, you know I'm not the kind of person that's like, I'm not super hyper obsessed with performance. I'm generally of the opinion like, yeah, I'll just like waste CPU cycles and memory if it's easier to do that. But there was an actual problem that I'm at least attempting to solve here. I have no way of knowing if it's going to fix it, but this is my attempt to fix it anyway. So can I make this resource local to scene in here? Will that work? I want to try to do something weird. I'm going to try to do something weird a little bit here. We are going to do iconrect.material is equal to sheen material. And then we're going to do sheen tween property, sheen material. Shader progress. Variant final val is 0.4, dot from negative 0.2. Those are weird values, but I don't really feel like normalizing those. Duration 0.5. I could look at the board indicator, or what is it called? Board orb? Board effect orb. There's a dang moth in here. Did I get it? Oh my gosh, I got it. Yeah, I'm basically just going to copy this because that looks good. So let's do this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do sheen tween dot tween interval mathutil.rng.rand f range. We'll do anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds. Then we're going to do sheen tween dot tween action play sheen. I've never actually done this before, but this should work. So it's going to just call play sheen again. It's going to kill the existing tween, create a new one, redefine all this stuff, and then choose a new interval. So it's going to choose a random interval every time it's called. So this should keep it looping, but it will give it random time between the loops. So that should be okay. So now I just need to play that sheen tween probably here. Actually, I wonder if I should do... Yeah, let's do this. Let's see what it looks like if I put it in here. So if I do play sheen, and then if I do impact callback. All right, all at work for all of this. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's working. It's just not very noticeable. Maybe I do want the progress diff to be a little bit thicker. And then we're also going to add some kind of like animation for that as well. That's subtle but so satisfying. Yeah, I think it's a little bit too subtle, but part of the problem is like this icon is particularly bright, but I'm going to try something a little bit weird. What happens if I use black for this? Probably not going to look good, but what is the point of making games if you're not going to experiment, you know? As expected, that did not look very good. That's why 90% of the work for 10% of the game and vice versa, yeah. This fella sure does know some stuff about game feel. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think, honestly, I don't think I haven't put it like as much effort as I should into the game feel of this game, but that's kind of why I'm doing this like right now. I am kind of entering the phase of development where, no, we'll keep the white. I am entering the phase of development where I want to spend a lot of my time like making animations and interactions feel really good and adding more motion to the screen and stuff. I've been trying to keep the game in a relatively polished state just so I don't have so much work at the end. And also, you know, the game is more fun when it feels polished, but there's a lot more stuff that I want to do as well. And I'm not even done with this because like I want to do a whole... Yeah, I think... let me think about this. Part of me is wondering, like, do I just create a different color icon for this to indicate the new ones? I need to make it obvious which ones are new. Or instead of making a new icon for the new ones, I could create a darker version of the icon for the old ones. The only problem I could see with that is like the corrupted abilities. I'm gonna have to do a different version of the icon, or I guess I could just partially fade it out. That might work actually. Yeah, if I partially fade it out, is that gonna work? I want to make it really, really obvious which abilities are new, because that's really the only thing that you care that much about after you do alchemy, is which abilities did I actually gain, like which ones actually changed. That sheen looks good, I think. I think I'll just stop playing with the sheen for now. I think, so I need to do a little bit of an animation, but I also wonder if I should actually darken every ability that didn't change. That should probably be something that I do. I should start writing this stuff down, man. I'm not staying on top of this. Okay. Alchemy changes UX. Animate. So animate changed abilities to show difference. Play sheen and bounce effect on new abilities. Slightly darken the icons of abilities that did not change. Then I want to also show clearly the empty ability slots that will be filled after alchemy. Show clearly the abilities that will be protected by alchemy. Okay. So this is done. Well, not really done, but I guess I can call it done for now. Slightly darken the icons of abilities that did not change. Why is it saying none of these abilities changed? Oh, maybe. Oh, no, there we go. Yeah, I think it's okay. Like gemstone, nice if the bullet is a bit darker. Yeah, I think so. Maybe a sharper white twinkle effect localized in the top corner of a widget would be more readable. Yeah, I could do something like that. Could you put a little star with it in the corner of the icon? Let me think. Honestly, I think I want to try the dimming because I think it would be the same thing. So imagine... So these two abilities are new, these top two. So imagine this one is just stepped down, like it's dimmed out. So like this icon becomes less apparent, and then these ones are very bright. Plus they have the sheen effect, and then plus if I can do like a little animation, just do as much as possible to isolate those new abilities from the rest of them. Yeah, I think there's still some good stuff I can do here, but I think it's on the right track. Hello, Huang Vu. Hope I said your name correctly. I've just decided to go on this game development journey and come across your videos. They are very informative. Your game looks amazing, especially in terms of art style and animation. Thank you. Appreciate that. And good luck with your journey. 1 a.m. for me, I'm going to go to sleep. Bye. All right, sounds good. Thanks for joining Mabs Games. I think I'm going to probably end the stream there as well. I need to take a little break from this, but I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's looking pretty good. So So this is going well. I still have a bunch of stuff that I want to do with it, like I said, but you know, one step at a time, right? Anyway, that's going to be it for the stream. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. You can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. I would appreciate it if you would do so. It's a great way to support my work. And yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your day. I will be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, so I hope to see you there. All right, take care, everyone, and bye-bye for now.